Well, greetings. How are you? I have a nickname. I don't know whether you know my first name is pronounced, Sahana pronounced right, Jagdish. But most people cannot pronounce it right. I've been given a nickname Jag, like in Jaguar. And ever since that association, I've been dreaming of owning a Jaguar with a license plate Jag. And the dream became a reality when I turned 60, which is a major event in nation life. I have 2 grown-up children, both married, and they surprised me on my birthday. I don't count my birthdays. I went out to get my local paper and saw this beautiful Jaguar, top of the line, even the color I like, parked in the driveway with a handwritten license plate, Jag, happy 60th birthday. It was a rental car. You can't make up this stuff. It's true story. So I'm still looking for my Jaguar, okay? The topic I'm talking is so important in our daily lives, which is America is changing in front of our eyes. We are experiencing that as much by technology, starting with the internet, e-commerce, social media is transformative, and of course now ChatGPT, AI is coming. While technology will change our lives, but at the same time, there are changing demographics, which are underlying change much slower than technology, but having a massive impact on society in everything we do, from supporting the pensions, for example, corporate healthcare programs, anything we do in life. What are those demographics? I've identified 5 demographics that are changing our lives, and I'll talk about each one of them and how they're impacting us. The first one is aging population. Right now, the median age of America is 40 years old. It will be 45 years by 2050. Think about that one. There are 10,000 people retiring every day, baby boomers they are called, and there is no end to it for decades, not just months. Fastest growing segment in America actually centenarians, people who live to be 100 years older. And they all want to drive. And they are not just in Florida or Arizona, they're everywhere. Especially on the Emory University campus, you can see the retirees on the one hand and the young students on the other hand competing on the same road, essentially. Now, what are its consequences? Or how is it impacting America? The biggest impact is on healthcare. Health preservation is becoming so critical. It used to be only 8 or 9% of the GDP in 1980. Today it is about 14-15%. It's growing twice the fast of economy, and it just crossed $3 trillion. Who is going to pay for this? Would it be Medicare, Medicaid? It's not sustainable. Would corporations continue paying? That does not make sense, because today for 8 retirees, there is only 1 new worker coming in, contributing to our retirement plans for corporations. Second major area is wealth preservation. How do you outlive your wealth essentially in the process so that you can survive on your own rather than be a burden on the family or the society? So financial services, retirement planning is growing a major industry. Third one has to do with safety, security. We are all concerned about that one. We are warming our homes, living in security gates, for example. Neighborhoods are secured, cameras are everywhere. We are worrying about safety, security as we grow older. And the last one is very interesting, changing recreation needs. So in passive recreation, which is television or streaming nowadays, you find fascinating, there is no longer as interest into family situation comedies like How I Met Lucy. They're all reruns now. My Three Sons, for example, used to be a very popular program 2 generations ago. Today it's all about reality shows. Emergency room is interesting now, right? ER. Law and order. NCIS, Miami, Los Angeles, whatever it is, crime detection, etc. That's changing. Active recreation is also changing. At age 18, contact sports is great, such as football or basketball, but at age 40, it hurts a lot. So you become a spectator more so than a player yourself in the process. Even tennis is becoming too hard. People are going more for jogging. Eventually, we expect walking to be as recreational as marathon walking as we are jogging walking, for example. It's very interesting to watch changing in that area. Second area, which is my favorite, we have a complete change in the composition of the family structure. There used to be a breadwinner, usually a man, a homemaker, usually a wife, 2 children and a dog. That was a typical family in America. Today, that's not the case. 60% of adult women are also working outside the family. They are breadwinners as much as their husbands. And that's blurring the boundaries, role-playing about who does what. So today, the role of a breadwinner and the homemaker is changing. This trend is going to continue, so there will be about 65% of adult women will be working. My young colleagues around here, I can tell you, working will become a necessity by you, not just nice thing to do. To survive in a metro area, you cannot do it without 2 income families. How is this changing America? All of a sudden you find time poverty and time shift is a key one. Monday through Friday, nobody's home. People think dog is at home, but dog is even hard to take care now. And therefore people will go for more robot-based possessions in many ways. You will find fascinating. Major change is taking place. And therefore, second major area is that we are outsourcing all the activities. It is not the IT services outsourced to India, for example, but at home, cooking, cleaning, and childcare. The next generation does not know how to cook. Cooking from a necessity has become more a hobby. How to clean the houses. We keep our houses unclean, it's okay. I invite friends intentionally so that house gets cleaned by somebody. Whether I do it, my wife does it, I don't care, but we get house cleaned. Magazines are properly put together, etc. Interesting to watch. That's very key. Cooking, cleaning, and childcare are becoming major commercial opportunities, which is fueling the economy, all services-based economy. The third area, in terms of the impact, is very significant, primarily related to reversal of the roles. It is very likely more and more we will see not only blurring of the roles, but also women becoming the breadwinners and men becoming much more the homemakers. The trend is clearly true in the New England area, Vermont, Maine area, or on the West Coast, Oregon, for example, or Washington area. Some of the cities you can see the trend because her opportunities to get a much better job are greater than somebody else's opportunities. The third area I will talk about, which is again equally important, is increasing ethnic mix. By 2030, roughly 2030, America will be non-white majority. The largest state is California, which is already non-white majority. Second largest state out of nowhere now is Texas, not New York State. New York used to be the dominant one. Pennsylvania used to be the dominant population density-wise. It has been shifting always. Texas will be non-white majority by 2030 latest, which has a huge impact on elections. The third state now is Florida. Florida is growing enormously, and so many cities are growing, and again it will be likely to be a non-white majority. So how is this going to impact us? The first thing I have identified is that it will create a crisis of values. Christian faith is not the only faith. Therefore, if I am of a different faith than Christian faith, most ethics values come from our religion, which has been the tradition all over the world. So you have now Hinduism coming in a big way. You, of course, have the Islam population, which is a different faith altogether. You have Buddhism, Jainism, whatever turns out to be the case. So we'll have a crisis of values. Whose values? Ultimate forecast is that the values will come less and less from the faith, religion, and more from institutions. What is called secular ethics. For example, corporations will decide ethical behavior on the company's job at the location, what is right behavior, what's wrong behavior. Governments will decide what's right or wrong behavior. Legal system will decide. It's all called secular ethics, non-religious based ethical dilemmas or ethical solutions by and large. Surprisingly, I find that the increasing ethnic population, actually their cuisines, their habits, their lifestyles are becoming more mainstream. For example, most places in America, we are all used to using or eating Mexican food. Mexican food is in the main aisle now. If you go to California, it's not just meant for the population from Mexico or Latin American population, but the white Americans eat it. We do the same thing with pasta and pizza, for example, which is Italian. I find fascinating that in England, now the convenient food is no longer fish and chips, which is the British tradition, but it is chicken tikka masala. Isn't that interesting? And same thing. So I'm watching ethnic concentrations, ethnic bazaars, ethnic shops. Many of those brands and products will become more mainstream supermarket products, which I think is very interesting. And ethnic markets are lead markets in surprisingly clothing, fashion, shoes, anything to do with lifestyle. So watch the ethnic markets as you go around in your neighborhoods. Go out of your way to actually go and experience those ethnic markets. Best places to do that are in Los Angeles. There are 70 communities from different countries preserving their culture as if you are going to those countries. We have similar one in New York area. Atlanta, of course, is becoming much more multi-diverse. You have pockets of those areas. It's growing very, very well. So again, those are the three things you'll find with increasing ethnic mix. The next area is declining middle class. I've been researching from the 80s. Middle class used to be 60% of the American households. It is steadily declining and will plateau at about 30%. Two extreme classes are rising in the process. So you have more poor people rising at the one hand, and you have more affluent people rising on the other hand. Affluent used to be about 10% of the population, but it's going to grow to about 30% of the population. 20% affluent, and there will be 10% super affluent, almost like nobles, kings, etc. days. Similarly, at the lower end, they are dividing into 40%. 20% will be working, hard-working people, barely surviving, cash flow to cash flow, month to month. And of course, below poverty, about 20% will plateau at about below officially declined poverty level. So what are the consequences? The biggest consequence is there is no upper limit of price. Price points are rising from 5 times from low to high. In the old days, now it is 20 times. So you have a super premium products coming out, but at the same time, no frills. No frill products are coming about. And the two extremes are growing enormously in this country, which we are watching as a trend. The other area that's more interesting is that it's creating enormous debate what to do with the new poor. It's becoming a social justice issue when it comes to education, health, for example, and digital divide, the internet access, etc. So we are watching about this becoming a political issue, etc. And the last one, and my favorite because such a new one in many ways, is the living alone by choice. In the old days, the widow who outlived the husband lived alone. She did not want to be part of her family. She wanted her independence. She could drive. But today, older men are willing to live alone by choice. Younger men are living alone by choice. In fact, the first time marriage, 2 generations, was age 18 and a half, right after high school graduation. Today, first time marriage is 28 and a half. Those 1 decade you live alone by choice, and many of them are not willing to do anything else except live alone by choice. So we have about 30% of the U.S. population will be living alone by choice, single adult households. What are its consequences? Quite often when you live alone by choice, as some of the presenters talked about today, you feel lonely. And therefore you have a loneliness. How do you manage that loneliness? So you basically have drug abuse, alcohol abuse, or you try to escape by going into, for example, committing suicide. That's a negative side. Or you can engage in local communities. In fact, many of these people are actually very engaged in local causes, not just big national causes like civil rights, for example, but local causes, community-related. They want to participate because they need somebody to interact with. Surprisingly, kinship is replaced by friendship. Television program called Friends, where became very popular, was indicative of the society. Friends matter more today than my own siblings or relatives, which is a major change again. I find fascinating to watch Living Alone by Choice. There are incidents whereby here is a single person rushing home from work because she is on a metaverse called Farmville. There is another one called Second Life, which are older generation. And of course now Meta Corporation, Facebook guys are creating newer ones in many ways, much more exciting, more immersive, etc. So he or she is rushing home because they own a farm and they want to make sure she milks a cow before the sunset. That's more interesting and exciting than anything else in life. Isn't that fascinating? So living alone by choice creates all kinds of changes in the marketplace. For example, when you have desire to buy something, there's nobody else to say, don't do it. So impulse buying is rising. With online shopping today, I can order very quickly on any of the platforms such as Amazon or Walmart online platforms, and I get it delivered in few minutes or few hours. These changes are enormous. First of all, we are living more like roommate family. I find fascinating that in my generation, we used to have a sit-down dinner. Kids and all of us will eat together, watch Uncle Cronkite. Walter Cronkite was a newscaster. Might remember that. Today, people have no time. Eating dinner is a chore now. Then immediately everybody congregates very quickly, eats the dinner, and then goes in their own corner. Somebody's watching WhatsApp or talking on WhatsApp or messaging. Somebody's watching YouTube. Somebody's watching television. Somebody's talking on the phone. So we have a roommate family phenomenon which says many of the family conversations and the values we have are not going to be the future in the past. We'll have a time poverty. Time poverty creates more stress in society. Most of the stress that is rising in the society has to do with lack of time. We are trying to do too many things within the time that we have, and time is creating enormous pressure on us. I also feel very strongly this dichotomy of rich and poor is going to grow, not just on income but also on wealth. Wealth dichotomy is rising even much greater than the income dichotomy. It's called a Gini score in economics. I think it's mind-boggling to see, which is not sustainable long time. There's always a reaction to these kinds of trends by and large. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you very much.